Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eye on Port here on Metropolitan Television. Eye on Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority-GPHA, and our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on the show tonight. Tonight, we are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema, and on YouTube, we are streaming live at Eye on Port Ghana. Eye on Port Ghana. Now, we shall be getting interactive with you as usual, and all you have to do is sit back, relax, and grab your phones and send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559-019-177. 0559-019-177. When the time is ripe and our pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Ohima, no be taking number first. By you. You tell me say take the number give me.
Guys, no, I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talk now what? Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Roll out with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mami.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy. Goyle is good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah, our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We're now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of last week. And indeed, in the course of last week, maritime stakeholders successfully underwent an oil spill contingency exercise in the port of Tema. Now, stakeholders at the Tema Fishing Harbour have also been updated on projects that are ongoing in that particular place. Plus, the fact that the general manager in charge of marketing and corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority also during the week took time off her busy schedule to mentor, to inspire, and to motivate some female employees of the organization, urging them to accept challenges even as they aspire to climb the professional ladder. Let's take a look at these stories and more.
Oil spills are among common maritime incidents that require maximum collaborative efforts to prevent and curtail due to dire environmental and financial implications that arise from them. This is why Ghana has since 1986 sought the help of the International Maritime Organization in developing an oil spill contingency plan. Contingency plans, however, are kept alive by constant training and exercises. To this end, officials from Ghana's maritime sector agencies are undergoing training in the various stages of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan to prepare them for any unfortunate incidents in the future. As part of a 4-day training program, these officials have visited the port of Tema to acquire first-hand experience of the appropriate use of oil spill apparatus. The exercise was organized by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and facilitated by experts from Norwegian maritime and environmental firm Novamari. The director in charge of petroleum at the Environmental Protection Agency, Kojo Agbeno Efunam, explained that practical training in such an operational area was necessary for the contingency plan.
For example, we came here almost in the morning, but it is getting a bit late now. So that tells you that even you can have the equipment, but mobilization also takes a lot of time. So the time factor is also important for our training, to let the participants understand that it is not only having the resources that is important, but then you must also input the time.
An emergency preparedness advisor at Novamari, Svianon Naimak, highlighted the significance of continuous training at the operational level to maintain momentum.
I can say with certainty, if the workers or the operators do what they now have shown us, I can say for certain, yes, you are capable. What we know from experience is that if you do it once and never again, you will forget it. So my recommendation would be to practice, have an exercises from time to time to keep the knowledge at hand.
The on-scene commander and deputy harbour master logistics at GPHA, Captain Daniel Corte, on his part, said GPHA is keen on continuous training to stay prepared ahead of unforeseen circumstances.
Because I don't want any situation to arise and we'll be called upon and we cannot deliver. Because at the end of the day, this is what we are mandated to do. And this is what we are taxed to do. So we have always, day and night, tried to put our house in order. Because we never know when the next oil spill will occur.
Management of the Tema Fishing Harbour has met with stakeholders to discuss ongoing projects at the fishing harbour and pertinent issues affecting business there. Held at the NAFAG Hall, this is the first quarterly stakeholder meeting since the postponement of public gatherings due to COVID-19. Addressing the gathering, General Manager in charge of the Tema Fishing Harbour, Engineer Kwabna Samoa, detailed a number of key projects that the authority embarked on over the past few years. This includes the reconstruction of the trapezoid drain and estuary abutment at the Chemu Lagoon, an initiative to restore the lagoon to its original state where aquatic life thrived. New marine fenders have also been installed at the fishing harbour to improve the berthing experience
of fishing vessels. The authority has also renovated the fish market hall and completed an accompanying health post for the fishing community who do business at the harbour. GPHA also constructed canoe basin sheds to provide a convenient and safe facility for the handling of fish. Engineer Samoa said that despite the fact that some of these investments do not present direct commercial benefits to the Port Authority, they are in line with GPHA's vision to create an enabling environment for the fishing industry to thrive.
And it is the aim of GPHA management to support the fishing industry as much as possible. You see, if you look at our operations, to us is like some sort of corporate social responsibility. We are not charging our services as we charge in the main port. The main port is purely commercial, and we want to support the fishing industry. We know the benefits. We know the benefits from employment to right through to the economy, the support the fishing industry gives to the economy. So everybody is doing what we can, GPHA management, to support the fishing industry. So the projects we do, we are not to make money, but to enhance the work the fishing community undertake.
He also revealed that the Tema Fishing Harbour has obtained certifications with the International Organization for Standardization, indicating management's commitment to quality services, occupational health and safety, and environmental sustainability.
In line with our vision and mission, I'm happy to inform you that your port and your fishing port is now ISO certified.
The occasion was also used to announce new executives for the National Fisheries Association of Ghana, NAFAG, whose president is now Nana Jojo Solomon.
The General Manager in charge of Marketing and Corporate Affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority has thrown a challenge to female employees of the authority to accept roles at the operational areas of the port to deepen their know-how of the industry they find themselves in. She said female employees, in their bid to rise up the ranks and contribute more meaningfully to the organization, must be open to taking up new roles that challenges them to learn and serve. According to the woman presently in charge of managing the marketing and public relations as well as corporate affairs of GPHA, attributed her success to this approach during her early stages of her illustrious career.
I want to encourage you that if you have the opportunity, go to operations. It is very key. It is very critical. And you know, I realized that when I even came to headquarters to be part of the top management team, everything that comes to DG's office has something operations. Everything. And so if the DG asks you for your comment, for your advice, you are going to do that based on the knowledge that you have obtained from operations.
She was speaking during a coaching session with members of the Ghana chapter of the Network of Professional Women in Maritime and Port sectors of West and Central Africa. The coaching session served as a testament to her dedication to fostering a culture of diversity and excellence within the industry. Esther J.B. Donko encouraged aspiring female professionals to conduct themselves with integrity and eschewed practices that will bring disrepute to themselves and their colleagues, having faith that with hard work they will reach their career destinations. She highlighted the significance of perseverance and dedication in pursuing one's goal, drawing inspiration from her own life's story.
Don't be perturbed at all. Concentrate on what you are doing and be focused. Don't be down because you have not been promoted and then you change your working habits and become somebody who is lazy, somebody that cannot be trusted, somebody that is not committed. Please make sure that you are committed to what you do.
Mama One, as affectionately called by her subordinates, told her audience to draw strength in teamwork, something that has been a pivot in her career.
You need not be a manager before you can start delegating. Some of you are here, you have juniors under you. So wherever you find yourself, please delegate. Work as a team, teamwork.
The accomplished marketing and public relations maritime professional with 30 years of experience is also a port management expert who is the first ever female terminal manager at Ghana's seaports.
Those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. We are now going to take some foreign international news.
The UK's National Crime Agency has made what it believes to be the largest seizure of narcotics in British history. On February 8, its officers seized 5.7 tons of cocaine that had been concealed within a cargo of bananas from South America. The new record exceeds the previous one by 2 tons. The NCA's Near Europe Task Force identified the inbound shipment and flagged it for inspection. It was ultimately headed for the port of Hamburg, authorities believe, and would have been distributed on the German market. The NCA is investigating the identity of importers in cooperation with European partner agencies. The NCA estimates the street price of the cocaine at about $570 million. The typical wholesale price in South America would be in the range of $12 million. CMA CGM Indianapolis, the first new 7,000 CEU LNG dual-fuel car carrier in CMA CGM's fleet, has made its maiden call at BLG Auto Terminal, Bremerhaven, Germany. On its inaugural journey in Northern Europe, the 199.9-meter-long new build is in Bremerhaven not just for unloading, but also for LNG bunkering in Kaiserhaven. Delivered in December 2023 and built in China, the CMA CGM Indianapolis is the first of 4 identical ro-ro ships that will be sailing for CMA CGM in the future. The 3 other sister ships are scheduled to be delivered in 2024.
All right, so those were some foreign stories. We're now going to take the word or phrase of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is CEU. CEU.
CEU, or Car Equivalent Unit, is the unit of measurement indicating the car carrying capacity of a vessel.
All right, so welcome back. We are zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we are taking a look at the withdrawal of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso from ECOWAS and what that portends for trade, particularly our transit trade, and some also perhaps security implications of this particular move by these 3 countries. And good news is that just before we came into the studio, we picked information that ECOWAS has withdrawn the sanctions placed on these 3 countries. But is that going to make any difference? And so tonight, that's the topic we're discussing. We're taking a look at what the implications for trade, particularly transit trade, because Ghana depends heavily on this particular trade with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And so we want to see what it will do to us if they stick to their guns and say they are not going to perhaps have a rethink of this particular move that they have made. And they also take a look at what the security implications would be, like I said earlier on. Now, I would introduce my guest, and when I come, I would go to the BNFT. I called an article written by one David Quay on this particular situation over there, and we'll take a look at the statistics. I mean, the volumes of trade that goes round between Ghana and these 3 Sahelian countries, and we'll see the magnanimity of what we are saying. It's not something that we should be joking with, and we all must pray that things change and do not stay the way they are. So it gives me pleasure this evening, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to us Mr. Dodi Seydou. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa Trade Academy. Good evening, sir, and welcome. He's no stranger to Iron Port. He's been here on several occasions, and tonight we are grateful he's obliged us once again. Next to me is Mr. Ziad Hamwi, who is the national president of Borderless Alliance, also no stranger to the show. He's been here several times, always obliging us as and when we need him. Sir, we thank you for coming.
Right.
Awesome. And last but not least, or to my right, is Dr. Adam Bona. Dr. Adam Bona is a popular security analyst and consultant in Ghana. We all know him. We've watched him on various platforms perform, and so we are privileged that he's gracing the Our Import show tonight. He's going to be bringing to us some perspectives as far as security of this particular situation is concerned. Doc, welcome. Your first time on the show. Yes. Happy New Year, sir. Good to have you. Also, your microphone is off. If you can, just read on. Absolutely, absolutely, great. Thank you very much indeed. So we will begin the discussion, but like I said, let me just go through, if you'd oblige me, indulge me, gentlemen. Let me just take a few lines of what David Quay has written in terms of the statistics of votes, said votes of, volumes of trade that passes through as goes round between Ghana, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Now, he says, I've just jumped, I've skipped, I don't want to. I'm going straight to economic ramifications, which it says in Article 27 of the ECOWAS Treaty highlights the need for economic integration within the sub-region. To achieve this, member states are admonished to ensure the gradual removal of all obstacles to free movement of persons, services, and capital. Now, the presence of this protocol has enabled countries within the bloc to increase trade over time, despite the bottlenecks restricting the full implementation of the protocol. He goes on, he says, Ghana has enjoyed steady economic relations with the three countries, particularly with Burkina Faso. Now, according to the Observatory of Economic Complexity, OEC, Ghana has relished an increased annualized rate of 17.6% over 2 decades of trading with Mali, from $1.96 million US in 1996 to $82.4 million in 2019. He says in 2019, Ghana exported $82.4 million to Mali, while importing $12.3 million in the same period. Now, this highlights the economic ties, no matter how small, which exist between the two West African countries. Unlike Mali, Burkina Faso borders Ghana to the immediate north, and thus has a greater percentage of trading with Ghana. It says, according to the United Nations Comtrade database on international trade, Ghana's exports to Burkina Faso amounted to $277.69 million in 2019. Now, in reverse order, Burkina Faso's export to Ghana totaled $53.08 million. That's in 2022. Commodity-wise, it is estimated that Ghana incentive-based risk sharing system for agricultural lending, that's GESAL, that Ghana currently imports 90% of its fresh tomato from Burkina Faso, with a national consumption demand in excess of 800,000 metric tons per annum. That's from the BNFT online 2024. Now, BNFT also estimates that Burkina Faso and Mali account for almost 70% of Ghana's livestock import, while in 2021, the main destinations of onion exports from Niger were Ghana, $21.7 million. Ghana's Ministry of Food and Agriculture estimates that onion import from Niger, currently valued at $26 million, will increase to $30 million by close of 2024. Now, the numbers above point to a major economic leak for Ghana in the wake of the trio's exit from ECOWAS. This is because, through the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, the main operational tool for promoting free trade area within West Africa, Ghana is relieved from customs duties levied on imports and exports, as well as some non-tariff barriers. The Ghana Export Promotion Authority states that, as member of ECOWAS, Ghana benefits from the fact that there are numerous international economic partnership agreements, EPAs. Most important one is the ECOWAS EU EPA, which led to the gradual removal of trade restrictions between the partners. I mean, it goes on and on and on. If you have time, you can go and Google it, and then you'd see the details in there. And so this is what we're talking about, the volumes of trade between Ghana, Mali, and Niger, and why we cannot sit aloof and say and pretend that nothing is wrong. Something absolutely is wrong. So let's set the ball rolling, and I want to start with Mr. Dodi Seidu, and first of all, find out from you what you think this portends First of all, I know you do a lot in terms of Pan-Africanism and all that. We are talking about our ECOWAS bloc, but I think that by extension, it concerns, the entire continent of Africa. So please tell us, what does this portend for us, even as we strive to, promote?
Well, thank you for having me, Ion Port. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening to our viewers. Yes, so this development, first of all, the development in context goes back to the establishment of ECOWAS, a regional body from 1975 aimed at fostering regional integration in West Africa. And I think over the past so many years, integration has progressed quite steadily, not in the way that was anticipated, but quite steadily. And at the time when ECOWAS was established and coming down into many years, our region has gone through several phases, politically as well. So we've gone from phases where from the 70s into the late 90s, we were mostly under military regimes, from Ghana to Nigeria, Nigeria to mostly Ghana, Nigeria, and then Togo and a couple of other countries within the region. And then, of course, in the 90s, the Liberian Civil War, Sierra Leone, and then probably from 2000 is when we began to enjoy some semblance of stability.
Right.
But then, of course, the ECOWAS principles allowed us a lot of room for trade and integration, free movement of people. We progressed, even in the Liberian Civil War, to dispatch a peacekeeping mission under the aegis of ECOWAS. So as a body, it's been very, 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 responsive at least and evolving with developments.
Right.
And so having enjoyed some level of stability, having coups in 2020 through 2023 in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso came as quite a disappointing setback for the region.
Yes.
So if you look at it from that angle, then you will say that we've taken a couple of steps forward and almost, in some degree, same steps backwards.
Right.
And so in terms of Pan-Africanism, these developments have tainted our efforts because Pan-Africanism is to, mobilize all African or people of African descent to unify. And so trying to achieve that at the regional level, at least, even though it's not the best, contributes to the overall goal of having an African, a Pan-African or an African union without borders.
Yes.
And so I would say that this development has not been one that was expected. And even though we have the update from ECOWAS lifting the sanctions, we still think that it's not over yet. It will still take a while. So in short, it's been a taint on our Pan-African efforts.
Why do you say it will still take a while?
Well, it will still take a while because, number one, these countries had some concerns they voiced, which already have, the lifting of the sanctions is just one of them. And so I think from my reading and my understanding, they are looking for, number one, an ECOWAS solution, as well as a solution that lies with them. But I also think there are also other dynamics. I think that the coup leaders in those countries were looking for a way out of ECOWAS to be able to have their way. And so even lifting the sanctions does not mean that ECOWAS has responsibilities over their internal affairs and can determine when there's restoration of, rule of law. Yeah.
Let me come to Mr. Hamwi. On the 28th of January 2024 was when these three countries issued a joint statement indicating their withdrawal from the ECOWAS, bloc. I just want to find out from you, as Borderless Alliance, you've been doing a lot of work with this particular bloc within West Africa. I want to find out from you what your initial reaction was when you heard the news.
Thank you, Kennedy, for having me, and thank you for the question. As you know, for the past decade, we were really working on implementing the vision of the ECOWAS founding fathers in promoting regional integration and the free movement of goods and people across West Africa. And so our advocacy was focused on integrating and in uniting the countries in trade by focusing on the regional trade and transportation. Now, I won't say that it was a surprise when the letter came in January about the decision of the landlocked countries to break away,
Yes.
it was long time obvious that they were disenfranchised.
Yes.
But it was still all the same, it was a frustration because just in December during the Heads of State summits, the discussions were all centered about how near we are to celebrating 50 years of ECOWAS in 2025, and how 2023 will actually be a year of celebrations in the run-up to the 50 years. There was also talk about Accra hosting a summit about free movement. Maybe next week we will hear more about it, I am hoping. And then all of a sudden comes the news that instead of more integration, we were starting the year with disintegration.
Right.
So it was a disappointment on a personal level. Then the next immediate thought was that after double checking that the news were valid, then the main priority was to prevent any kind of disruptions with the movement of the goods of trade moving from the coastal countries into the landlocked countries, because now that the intention is there, the borders were no longer certain to be open by the time some of them will be moving. And so we activated our national committees, and we liaised with the economic operators and the traders across to tell them to hold on while the situation at the borders becomes more clear. Because you don't want a situation where, similar to how it happened in November when the borders closed in Niger, and then operators were stuck for weeks on end. So we asked operators to hold on while it remains to be determined whether these borders will be closed immediately, depending on state, because you are no longer talking about the normal way of doing business within ECOWAS states.
Yeah.
These are, in the first place, not democratically elected organizations, even though they have their own, let's say, sovereign status, if we want to call it. So they have control over their land borders. You don't have control over it. And in a way, you can see the reason why these countries were thinking or considering themselves more and more as a backstage for the rest of the region. I mean, what's the point of sticking to a regional group if you don't see the benefits from associating with a regional group? And these are not poor countries. They are very rich in resources. But it is the way these resources have been shared out within their countries that have caused their people to be disenfranchised. And then it was the way that the relationships within the ECOWAS space have, and the dynamics of that relationship, which had implications on the relationship between the states and the heads of states. Eventually, these have decided that they have economic benefits or political benefits elsewhere, and that they are going to take their businesses internally. Now, keep in mind that in the longer term, these three countries are landlocked countries. There's nothing that they can do that can change this fact. A landlocked country will rely on the coastal countries for its normal functioning in the import and the export of raw material, critical components, life, health, food. All of it will be remaining on the assumption of a healthy relationship between the coastal countries and the landlocked countries. And that has always been on the back of the minds of the major stakeholders, especially those engaged in regional trade. Burkina Shippers Council have always, for example, shopped around for the best alternatives. They've always built redundancies, so they don't only use exclusively the Tema corridor, for example. They always have a plan B and plan C in case disruptions come. You know that your trade will function. So all this being taken into consideration, it is refreshing that the ECOWAS has made the first move, which is to lift the sanctions, because obviously the sanctions were going nowhere. And the objective is to bring these 15 countries back into the fold and to re-engage on finding out exactly what the concerns are, what can be done to help, and then how to actually move forward instead of moving backwards. As though they were saying, we are moving backward for so long. It's time to move back forward in the interest of these countries and their people.
Would you say that the work that you have put in so far, what you have done so far, this particular situation kind of like makes you feel that you have worked in vain?
I mean, I'm helplessly optimistic. In this case also, I'm always optimistic because I believe that our strength is in our numbers.
Right.
Because divided we will fall, and united we will stand. And this applies more to the smaller countries within the ECOWAS group than it does to the rather larger countries. Countries like Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria or Senegal, they are large enough to be able to think that they can manage on themselves. But even these countries also have the institutional components that allow them to think beyond their national borders. No one country is an island. So you definitely need to build a regional perspective in order to have a better chance for surviving, especially in this world of rising uncertainties, disruptions, and I'm afraid, even though I'm focusing more on trade, but there's a clear lack of a leadership that is showing the way towards economic prosperity and economic transformation, not just within West Africa or Africa, but across the world. So how do we deal with all of this, take into perspective that we need to satisfy the interests of our people, our economic operators, and our traders? We have played our part within the trade space because we have provided the support that we can and lent our advocacy platform to the economic operators and the traders who have been engaged, especially with cross-border trade. And so we have tackled the issues that happened mostly at the borders. We have engaged with the stakeholders from both sides of the borders across West Africa. We have worked on reviewing and assessing and trying to enhance the implementation of the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, which is the regional free trade agreement that allows goods to flow freely, as you said earlier, according to the laws of ECOWAS. But still, look, we know what the technical challenges are. But what we have at the moment is not just technical challenges. If it's just technical challenges, we have the capacity to solve these technical challenges. What we need is the ability to rise beyond the technical challenge and start to solve the non-technical challenges. Otherwise, we will keep on having a recurrence of these challenges under different names at different times in different countries across the region.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me come to Dr. Adam Bona and find out from you. In terms of overall stability and security, what does the withdrawal of these three Sahelan countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, mean for the West African sub-region?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to our viewers, and then my co-panelists. For Seydou, my brother Seydou Dodi, I won't say much. Anyway,
maybe I should say that you were mate at some point?
Yes, we were
all right, yes.
To answer you directly, I would say this problem of these three countries ceding from the bloc, it was merely President Tinubu trying to use Takashi. It was an unnecessary political decision by President Tinubu who, when you hear we are big, you are big. You can't provide electricity for your people. You are big. You can't lead the rest of the pack in West Africa. You are big, and you have lost touch with the citizens of West Africa. I have said this severally in various meetings with ECOWAS. I keep asking them, at what point do they come to the people, citizens of West Africa, to take feedback? Do they come to us for feedback? No. You have leaders who meet around a table like this and have tea and coffee and eat from our purse, and they regroup and take decisions that affect the people economically, trade, politically, security, and at the moment, the sub-region is in disarray. Accra Initiative is on its knees. The Accra Initiative was to deal with some of the insurgencies we are seeing in the Sahel region. One morning, you get up and President Tinubu, respectfully says that we are going to invade Niger. I mean, who does that?
You said that?
Who does that? Yes, of course, they were going to send men in. And some of us criticized it. I had the opportunity to meet the the outgone Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, and I told him that Ghana is a critical player. Yes, it's a critical player when it comes to sub-regional grouping, in fact, in the world and, in Africa. And therefore, whatever role we are going to play, we've got to be very careful because we are not paying you, the Ghanaian military, to go into Niger and go and kill our soldiers or our boys. He told me, well, they are going to meet, but fortunately, they haven't done that. You see, my brother, we need to...
What is the crime of Niger?
Well, the crime of Niger is that you have a certain superpower called France digging their lithium and punishing them. And the whole of Niger doesn't have electricity. And this lithium is taken back to France. And Niger says, we are tired of this, slavery, which you call democracy. And therefore, we want to see how we can run our own affairs.
It's kind of like trying to renegotiate.
Exactly.
The contracts.
They want to have a stake. They want to have a stake because the whole world is moving to green, moving from fossil fuel to, renewable energy. And Big Brother Tinubu says, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And so,
what's the interest of Nigeria?
Well, the interest of Nigeria is the interest of France, Europe, and America. Isn't it? I mean, let's speak truth to power. And so, for some of us, I say that until such a time that our leaders come to the table and begin to smell the coffee, it will be difficult. You have heard about free movement. It is easy for me to move from here to France than to move from here to Togo. It is easy for me to move from here to the UK than to move from here to Nigeria. The bottlenecks, what you go through to do that. Yes, we have the ECOWAS free movement. Our leaders are not talking about that. Today, go to the Sahel region, it's in turmoil. And so one would have thought that there's a reason why these Sahelian countries, or some of these countries, decided to go the way they are going. And so if you're an elder in the house and you have children who are fighting, what do? Do you throw them to the dogs? Or you bring them to a round table and say, you know what, we can resolve this amicably at home. But what did we see? We attacked Niger. If you ask, Nigeria has not been able to deal with Boko Haram. Right? Sometimes in Abuja, the whole of Abuja comes under curfew. And you have helicopters and jet fighters circling around Abuja like you are in Somaliland or Somalia. And yet you say you are going to Niger. Look at the vast nature of Niger. You are going to invade Niger. And some of us said you can't do that. You are only going to create more chaos for all of us. Fortunately, they heeded to it. But you see, it is better late than never. Now these countries decided they will cede. Because you have the Wagner group who are also taking position in the sub-region. Once you create a vacuum, somebody would occupy it. And if occupied it, they are there. Of course, you see, West Africa, we have enormous natural resources. I mean, where the resources is where you usually find more or much of the confrontation and the conflict. Because when there is conflict, the resources will be taken away quickly. And so as far as I'm concerned, to answer you directly, the security connotations when it comes to what we are seeing today in West Africa is in disarray. And you have Ghana attempting to join when we haven't been able to deal with what is going on in Boko. So some of us just thought that, you see, our leaders are refusing to come to the table and begin to ask citizens questions. And I have recently the World Parliament or the Global Parliament, I think they had a meeting in Accra, led by our Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament. And I asked the question, that still in West Africa, we only have a West African Parliament that is advisory. Isn't it? Yes, how do you have a West African Parliament that is advisory? And yet you have the leaders decide to take, because then if, let's say, if you go to a European Parliament, it's not an advisory body. They elect leaders, the people elect leaders from various, let's say in the UK, from various communities in the UK that would represent the people's interests in the EU Parliament. But we don't have it. And so you have, let's say, your constituency, either in Accra or your hometown constituency, parliamentarian who is selected, not elected, selected by Parliament to say, oh, go and be part of the ECOWAS parliament. So they go there, whatever they say, nobody listens. Because then if they were engaging citizens, they would know our challenges. Look at, you were giving some data from this Quay.
Yes.
Look at the data you gave. The truth is that, how do you tell me? I'm from the Upper West region of Ghana. Most of the people of the Upper West are also coming from Burkina Faso. Excuse me to say, does it make sense? It's just, I mean, something they call border, which doesn't, I mean, it's imaginary. So you say that the guy who is from the Upper West, or you go to the Volta region, or you go to the other border areas, and these people are brothers and sisters. It's just some colonial demarcation they put. You say that for now, you are no longer part of this part of the, the bloc. And we can't say anything because our leaders met. You see them in town, they sleep in the best hotels, they eat the best food, and they go back like some kings and some monarchs, and we can't talk. For some of us, I say that we need to start speaking truth to power. Because at the end of the day, you see, what is happening to the Sahelian countries? Fortunately for Ghana, we haven't had any issue. But the truth is that let's not think that, for us, we are free from all of these things. We have to start speaking to our leaders and letting them know that. How do you see or tell me that Niger, one of the biggest, you are suspending them, and that will not affect the ordinary citizen who has to take a flight, and that flight will be cheaper if it goes through Niger. It means you don't care about me because you would go with your private jets or presidential jets, or you don't care. They don't care. They don't go through potholes because their cars have hydraulic shocks. Say they don't know how it feels. So all that I am trying to say is that our leaders should come to the party. We are asking them to start listening to the people. Let's start asking them questions. Let's come to a round table. When have you heard that the ECOWAS bloc ordinarily have had a meeting where, they allowed civil society to ask them questions? Let them know what our viewpoints and opinions are when it comes to issues of security, economy, trade, and all those things. We don't have it. We have a lot of onions coming from Niger, Burkina, and the rest. You are telling us that they've been suspended. They said they have ceded. Now you are saying, no, we are allowing you back. So now they are bargaining power. Anyone who has done mediation and negotiation will tell you that now they have the key to whether they would agree or they will not agree to come in. Because then when you left, somebody occupied that vacancy.
Right.
So if you want to go back there, they will give you their terms and conditions that this is what we want. And I am on the board of the Small Arms Commission, light weapons, representing small civil society. There are several treaties that have been signed, and these countries that ceded are part of the treaties signed within ECOWAS. The moment they wrote that they've ceded, technically, it means that these treaties don't work. And one of the treaties has to do with arms trade. So if you were, let's say, in Niger, and you wanted to import firearms, the treaty says that all the other countries would have to know what you are importing. When I say no, they must know the numbers and other things. If they disagree, you can't bring them in. And the reason is that so that one country cannot arm against the other.
Right.
Today, these countries, unfortunately, ceded. You are now calling them back. Do we know what has come in?
Yeah.
So now we are all endangered species, excuse me to say, within the sub-region. So for me, to put it lightly, I would want our leaders to smell the coffee. They should come to the party, smell the coffee, and know how difficult it is to go to Malamata market, where onions prices have gone up because they are no longer coming freely from Niger and the other countries. This is what I can say.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. I'll be coming back to you. But I'll come to you, Mr. Seidu. But before then, Ziad would want to say something.
Just two quick ones. The first one is that I do agree with the point that Dr. Bonar has made with regards to the fact that ECOWAS has already made the decision to transition to an ECOWAS of people.
Right.
And in an ECOWAS of people, you are already submitting to the fact that you want to listen to the people and your constituents, which is not being done. And this is one of the major reasons why there is this widening gap between the aspirations of the people and between the leaderships that are being produced on a national level. So let's re-examine a way to bring these leaders back to listen to what their people aspirations are and act on it. Where I do not agree with is with regard to Tinubu's decision, because he did not make that decision as a president of Nigeria or as a person. He did it as a president of the ECOWAS, a chairman of ECOWAS.
Right.
And I do agree that it was a very ill-advised decision that he has made to decide that of all the other countries who have seceded, remember, Guinea had a coup, then Mali had a coup,
yes,
then Burkina had a coup.
Then Cote d'Ivoire had a coup. Cote d'Ivoire had a coup.
Almost.
Cote d'Ivoire had a coup.
Senegal almost had a coup
and yet
also.
the Alassane Ouattara was sent as one of the envoys to go and mediate and tell other coup makers not to have a coup. So add that.
So my point is that now Niger is saying so only when it is our turn. Now you decide that you want to invade us because we are just neighboring you. So it was a very ill-advised decision, and it puts them as a leadership, as an ECOWAS commission, in a catch-22 situation. Now they are no longer to decide that we are going to backpedal. It's no longer possible to backpedal.
Right.
Luckily for us, the last surviving founding fathers of ECOWAS, Gowon has decided that he was going to put his weight and then call.
Yeah.
So he sent that letter, which provided now the opportunity for ECOWAS leaders to say, okay, our senior elder has called us in his wisdom. So let us sit down. Let us start to see where we are going to move with this. Let us call off these sanctions. Let's find out whether you can also withdraw that letter. Let us talk. Right. Whether that can work, as Doc is saying, whether they will decide that they want to come back to the fold. Now, I also disagree on whether they have the advantage, because eventually they know, they have smart people to think that in the medium term to the longer term, they are worse off as a bloc. Now, everybody has the opportunity to come back to the negotiation table and to make compromises. So moving forward, compromise is a key word, assuming, and I truly hope, that none of the external powers which have meddled into these relationships and caused this rift further will also meddle in whispering in someone or a few someone's ears to say that this is not in your interest. And you've mentioned it. It's not a coincidence that a day before that decision was made, a representative of the foreign affairs of a certain country was in town meeting with the representatives of these countries. And then the next day we have a decision that said we are leaving. So too much of a coincidence, isn't it? So we have to stick together. We have to come back to the negotiation table. We have to listen to the voices of the constituents who brought us in that place in the first place.
Right.
It's very important.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me come to Mr. Seidu and find out from you. The Continental Free Trade Area, was just about beginning. I mean, we started with DED 1 or 2, and we still are grappling with few challenges that's not making us effectively take off. And all of a sudden, boom, this happens. What does this portend for the free trade after?
Well, thank you again. So, first of all, every form of insecurity affects the free movement of people and goods. So already, insecurity in other parts of Africa has contributed to the low levels of intra-Africa trade and even trade within countries because you can't move because of safety and security issues. So the coups in those countries already affected the ability of goods to move. Then, of course, secondly, these countries were sanctioned. Most of it had some trade implications. So that already affected regional and continental trade, including the AFCFTA. Okay. Thirdly, because these countries were suspended, they were not parties or they couldn't be parties to certain level of negotiations and representation at both the regional and continental level. I know in some contexts, operational
parts, they're able to participate, but not at the political making decision level. So if the AU is having a meeting or a discussion, they cannot be able to represent officially because they've been suspended.
Right.
Then, of course, the AFCFTA negotiations and implementation built on the achievements of the regional economic communities. So if a part of the regional bloc has been chipped or is being chipped off, it affects how the bloc represents and how the bloc can participate effectively in the AFCFTA trade. Then I will also indicate that because the REX, the harmony of the REX is an indicator of the strength of the trade,
right.
This also has that kind of effect. So in a nutshell, these developments have not augured well for the continental efforts coming from ECOWAS. In fact, in some informal circles, everybody says, why is ECOWAS taking us this far? You know, it's like everywhere is, I mean, in COMESA or SADC region or EAC region, even with DRC and co, things are, there's generally some semblance of peace and therefore more trade and integration going on. But in this side, we are having some effect. So yes, let's also not forget, these three countries represent at least 8% of the GDP of ECOWAS.
Right.
So much as it may look small, of course, in GDP terms, this will be very significant. So yes, the effects are very, very numerous. You already mentioned, Zia already mentioned, for example, their access to seafronts, you know, all the countries from Senegal to, because there's a corridor from Dakar all the way to Mali. There's a corridor from, you know, Abidjan to Burkina and then to Niger and Mali. There's one from Tema to Ouaga and then or through Hamele you go to. So all of this challenge they have there is not just affecting them, but it's also affecting us as well because we provide opportunities for them to get. And then we spoke about the food. You see, let's even, Danakwe did a very, very good job.
Yes.
And let me add that we forgot the informal cross-border trade, which is a very, very, very significant part. So the onion seller or the onion buyer or the tomato seller whose statistics may not always be collected accurately, but will still trade. And if this thing persists, you mentioned the price of food, it's going to have food inflation effects, it's going to have the effect on food security because we are totally now dependent on these countries for onions and tomatoes and even some watermelons and other horticultural products.
Right.
Then let's also not forget the border communities. Border communities thrive on trade. If a border is closed, people in those border, whether it's Hamele or Paga or any of these, they can't live. Their lives are not the same again.
Right.
And then all the security issues become a factor because then the alternatives are not better than what was persisting.
Okay, so let me continue with you and find out, in terms of development, what do these three states stand to gain, for ceding from ECOWAS?
Well, it's a very tricky question.
In terms of benefits, will they?
Yes, whether they stand to gain. But I think, number one, the ceding was a political tool, like my colleagues have already mentioned, to draw attention to grievances they have.
Yes.
That is one. So certainly the development part will be to be listened to get called back to the table.
Yes.
Of course, because they are not governments that have the mandate of their people. They don't have the mandate through the ballot box. They seem to have, in my view, some level of personal interest. Because the more this situation persists,
the more they benefit.
The more whoever is in power would continue. So that element has that effect. However, if they are benevolent dictators, then we should expect that, well, they will move in the interest of their people. They will be able to, return their countries back to, to democracy. But then I see that beyond the political leadership, the people themselves in these three countries are also looking for other things that the ECOWAS Commission is not providing. But let me also clarify something. So the ECOWAS, as we have it, is still mostly the political leadership of the individual countries who are rotating. The commission is just a secretariat that implement the decisions of these political leaders. So eventually, somehow, we need to look at how we reorient the setup of the ECOWAS so that it is not just a political, because if, for example, Tinubu or anybody didn't want to do anything about Mali, Niger, or Burkina, it would have been so. You know, whereas the commission by themselves cannot take a decision on behalf of the member states or implement any activity on behalf of the member states. So this is a dilemma that these situations bring. So in terms of development, I would say that it's rather likely to affect them negatively. But like Ziad mentioned, it may be short-lived and then they will come back. If this situation persists, then what would happen is that if they form a bloc of their own, they may have to renegotiate some type of agreements with the other members of ECOWAS so that they get access to, you know, the sea and the trade, just like maybe Brexit. So you go out of the union, but then you have to establish trade agreements with all of these ones. So it's not an easy option they took, but it looks like to draw attention, this was needed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So this is our report here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight we're taking a look at the implications of, the withdrawal of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso from ECOWAS on trade. And we deal a lot with them because of the transit trade. They use our ports, mostly. And that's where we are concerned. Plus, we're also taking a look at the security implications. And so my guest in the studios, Mr. Dodi Seydou, who is the CEO of the Africa Trade Academy. We have Mr. Ziad Hamwi, National President, Borderless Alliance, and Dr. Adam Bona, who is also a security analyst and consultant. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the discussion. Please stay with us.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima.
Tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. This is Iron Port here on Metro TV, and tonight we're taking a look at the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from ECOWAS and the implications on trade. We're also taking a look at the security implications as well. With us in the studio is Dr. Adam Bona, who is a security analyst and consultant. We have Mr. Ziad Hamwi, who is the National President of Borderless Alliance, and indeed Mr. Dodi Seydou, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa Trade Academy. These are the gentlemen we're having a discussion with. I've been told by the production team that the phone lines have been activated, and so you can call. The number to dial is right on your screen, 020-5528-353, 020-5528-353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Let me come to Mr. Hamwi and find out from you what this means for the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, ETLS.
So two things. The first thing is that regional trade in itself is not a bad thing.
Right.
We need to continue to have regional trade because it is a measure of the economic development and the integration. It creates economic opportunities.
Right.
It keeps the people thriving and prosperous. And prosperous and thriving people are peaceful people.
Right.
And so economic development is very critical towards the development in a positive way for the region. ETLS has been designed as a free trade agreement that allows duty-free, quota-free movement for locally originating goods across the community. The problem with ETLS is not the regulations themselves. The regulations, if you look at ETLS, they are quite straightforward. The problem is with the challenge in the enforcement of the implementation of these regional regulations on a national level. Different countries apply it in different ways. And then comes the real challenge, which has to do with the lack of a dispute resolution mechanism that forces the various parties which are conducting trade under the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme to abide by the rules and regulations which were agreed of by their heads of state during the ETLS negotiations. So this way of solving all matters that have to do with trade and all the challenges ad hoc is not sustainable. And most of the time it comes with heavy compromises. So you don't really solve the issues when they happen. You bundle them. You have your state agency representatives move to solve it at ECOWAS level with their counterparts. Right. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So this is not a sustainable method. Bottom line and in conclusion, ETLS in itself is a good thing. The problem is with the lack of the ability to enforce its implementation on the regional level. Right. Now, in truth and honesty, ECOWAS did look at how to re-engineer some of the processes that have to do with ECOWAS. Right. So, like, for example, the database where you keep a record of all the products and the companies which are conducting trade under ETLS. Now they have moved it online. It is becoming more real-time, more available. And, but of course, as for the dispute resolution, there are some efforts on linking it to other free trade agreements like the AFCFTA, which have been around, and then on streamlining some of the complaint mechanisms, but not getting to the level of a dispute resolution mechanism. So far, there has been some improvement. Right. It hasn't been concrete yet, obviously, because there are still challenges that have to do with the sovereignty of the states, which decide on how to implement these decisions within their borders as the goods cross from one border to the other. So ETLS in itself is a good thing. It's not well implemented. It is being improved, but it needs something to support its implementation, to make sure that the parties which are conducting trade under that abide and respect these rules and regulations.
Right.
And now my second point, but this one is a very fast one. Right. I wonder up to when will we continue to complain about our inability to provide some kind of self-sufficiency to a certain level, not necessarily full efficiency, on some of the strategic products.
Right.
If you consume a lot of rice or tomatoes or onions, the question is, if we have so much abundant arable land, why are we still failing to provide ourselves with at least some level of strategic supply to some of these goods?
Right.
And that doesn't just apply to one country. Most of the countries have an issue with deficiency in the level of production of food. And that is why West Africa, indeed, most of Africa, has a food security issue. And this situation amplifies even further when you have global disruptions. So when the Red Sea gets blocked because of whatever, or the Black Sea disrupts, or Panama Canal disrupts, all of it reflects, and in an amplified way, on Africa, mostly on its food security. So we have to look at the regional solutions and to how to regionalize our agriculture value chains in a way that provides us with a level of food security, but at the same time, which provides economic opportunity for our people to provide this kind of mechanism and dynamic that helps us to move towards a situation of peace and prosperity and progress.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Let me come to Dr. Bona and find out from you. The ECOWAS sub-region has been, collaborating on issues of counterterrorism and all that. I just want to find out from you, with this decision by the 3 Sahelian countries, what happens to counterterrorism initiatives and cooperation, in the sub-region?
Well, I think you asked my colleague, Brother Dodi, about benefits.
Yes.
I would say benefit to these 3 countries, there is none. I say there is none in terms of, they ceding from ECOWAS. There is no benefit because at the end of the day, without unity, we are all going to be vulnerable.
Yes.
No country can be strong if there is no unity. And I think that the alternative is not the best. If when I say the alternative, I wouldn't mention names.
Yes.
But the alternative is not the best. And so it is in the interest of these countries and the interest of ECOWAS, or the citizens, the ordinary citizens, for the leaders of this country to come back to the table so that we can, collaborate and see how we can fight this counterterrorism. Because then we have an initiative called Accra Initiative, and some of these countries are part of it. And so ceding means that technically and legally, this Accra Initiative is moot. It means that as we speak, I spoke about what do you call that, the arms trade treaties that these countries have signed as when they were members of the bloc. Today, as they've ceded, I'm not too sure what that means, but I mean, literally, if you ask me, I would say that it means that a lot of firearms and a lot of, war materials could move into these countries unaccounted. But in the past, we knew that interstates, no states could become a rogue state in the bloc. I mean, once you are part of the bloc, the tendency for you to become a rogue state, a rogue state was something that you couldn't, because then for you to get firearms, transship it from, let's say, Russia, Slovenia, or whatever country, Hungary, wherever you are bringing them from, they must go through some processes. Member countries must agree that looking at your population and the strength of your military and the security, those bearers of firearms within your security setup, you will not need 100,000, let's say, M16s or AK-47s. You would need probably 20,000. And so if you are bringing in, let's say, 1 million AK-47, then we'll say, you want to invade another country and take over, or you want to destabilize the whole region. But at the moment, because these countries have ceded, it is difficult for one to sit and say, well, we still know what I mean, they've been away for a couple of, about a month or more than a month now.
Yeah.
We don't know what, I mean, a day. You can imagine how many air transport cargoes can land in the country, bringing in firearms that are not accounted for. So mine is that we should not delay, because then it impedes our ability to fight terrorism that is becoming worse by the day. Our ability to fight terrorism probably was a bit better when we were united. But at the moment, we don't know. We don't know who is coming in, and we still, you know, that if you look at the other side, what do you call it, Libya, people, they are still coming in, and some of these countries are connected to that stretch. So what it means is that we will not even know those who want to cross from the other side of Italy and other things and come in. We no longer know who they are. And we saw, as far as I'm concerned, it impedes our ability to fight terrorism, because there were joint operations. I visited some border communities, including Hamele. And, you know, I was able to drive into the other part of Burkina from the Hamele stretch and interacted with the, you know, counter-terrorism units of Burkina Faso. That was before they ceded. And they shared their concerns with me. I mean, I have it on video, that sometimes you are there and they are attacked, and their counterparts from the Ghana stretch cannot come and help them. It means that there were even challenges fighting terrorism in a united form. And so you can now imagine where they have now ceded if we don't get them to come back. So as far as I'm concerned, it impedes and endangers all of us within the bloc or the sub-region. So it is in their own interest to ensure, because then if it continues, my brother, if it continues, what will happen is that we will have lost the ability to fight terrorism in the sub-region for another 200 years. For another, because the truth is that every day that we are not able to come together, we don't know what is coming in. We don't know what is moving into Ghana. We don't know what is moving into Nigeria. We don't know what is coming in. The controls are not there. The monitoring mechanism is gone. And these things have a rollover effect. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think that our leaders, it's a step in the right direction. They've eaten a humble pie by asking them to come back. I think we will support them to bring them back. And then we would urge these countries not to, you know, drag their feet. They should come back. We want them back, because then if you go to Togo and these areas, you go to Hamele and Boku and the other, they are neighbors.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are neighbors. They intertrade. And the border trade is something that, you know, fuels these communities.
Absolutely.
If not these communities, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
And so as far as I'm concerned, we need to encourage, you know, ECOWAS and encourage these countries that have ceded. Let's come together again and, you know, be brothers and sisters, live together and fight the common enemy that is, you know, unemployment, our inability to trade and terrorism and all that. We have a common enemy. We cannot be enemies, you know, within ourselves, you know,
Okay, so I'm taking your messages now. This one says, this one is from Ohima in Tema. She says, good evening, Iron Port. Insightful discussion. Are we saying that if the countries don't return to democracy, the strife will continue? Aren't we copying blindly? Okay, in terms of development, let's just compare Nkrumah versus our so-called democratic leaders in power now. What have they achieved or are achieving for us? Compare Gaddafi's Libya versus Libya post-Gaddafi. We as a people must shine our eyes. Thank you very much, Ohima, for your message. This one says, so does this mean until the sanctions were lifted, we went back to paying duties for Burkina, paying duties for goods coming from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger? Iron Port, kindly find out from your resource persons for me. This one is, he says, my name is Minata in Tamale. So I don't know whether you would want to take that. Maybe you can note it so that I'll do the rest and then we can come for and elicit some responses. This one says, it is really sad to hear these developments in Africa. My dream is for us to have a common currency to help us stop suffering under the effect of the strength of the dollar. Looks, this dream of mine may not be a priority right now with what is happening. Ben in Tema sent in this one. Majid in Accra says, can you ask the security expert what he suspects will be the thoughts of terrorists lurking in the background with all the current developments. Okay. This one says, my name is Matilda in Nungwa. How will trade be conducted now that there's back and forth between these three states in ECOWAS? Let me come to you to respond to this other message that came through.
Yes, so generally, when countries are put under such sanctions, it is not expected that trade will flow formally. So, what it then means is that goods will not be able to go from, let's say, Tema to Waga, formally, and then also vice versa. So that is what it is as it is now. However, because we already have a lot of informal cross-border trade, we have a lot of porous borders, options to move goods here and there. What you often see is that the goods that are moving used some of these routes to come through. So I think that has been the effect. Of course, if the sanctions which were imposed don't bite, then there is no incentive to come back to the negotiation table. Yeah. So yes, that is the answer. But it's not that they pay duty to, let's say, come through Ghana or take goods through Ghana. No, right. It's rather that the sanctions meant that goods cannot trade routes will not be officially operationalized.
Right. I think that the calls are coming through, but we don't have time, so we can't pick any call. I understand we had one Derek or Eric on the line. Is he still there? Yeah, because we don't have enough time. So let me come to Doc. Somebody was asking a question.
Well, with regards to terrorists lurking around, obviously,
yes, in the background,
the enemy is happy when the house is divided. Yeah. Because then the enemy, to answer the person who asked the question directly, I mean, obviously the terrorists will be happy because then they know that once we are fighting among ourselves, it means we are not talking among ourselves. Yeah. And therefore, collaboration, monitoring, and tracing and tracking and trying to neutralize them, our ability to do that obviously would have diminished to the barest minimum. And so as far as I'm concerned, yes, they will be happy. I mean, they will obviously be very happy. But you see, these Sahelian countries who see that, they see that because of a certain promise by the alternative to provide them military, accoutrement. Yeah. And mine is that if America could not stand the test of time in Afghanistan and they had to run with their tails in between their legs, it means that no military power, can just come into the Sahel and say, oh, you can't finish everybody. So let's use dialogue and ensure, because then when there is enough for everybody to eat, you don't fight.
Peace reigns, yeah, absolutely. All right, this one, just a quick one, then we'll wrap up. It's from Ohima once again. She says, doctor's submission, although shed light on the reality, makes it scary. Ken, could you find out from him, from Doctor, whether he can lead us, concerned West Africans, to petition our leaders aimed at bringing some sane decisions to the situation? So maybe we'll have to link you and Ohima up to take it up from there if you want to. So just 10 seconds each, just wrap up, because our time is already up.
I mean, if I can go first, I think that the precarious balance of the nexus of economics, politics, and security in West Africa has been stretched very thin to the breaking point. Right. Because of the many powers at play, but also because of the disenfranchisement of the people who elect their representatives at the level of the region. And I believe that there is the root of any conflict is in economic opportunity or the lack of economic opportunity. So let us plead with our leaders to come back to the negotiation table and find out a way to create a situation where they can drive the countries and their people towards economic prosperity.
Right. Mr. Seydu, just some 10 seconds. And
yes, I'd like to say that the reason why countries come together to form a regional economic body is first understanding that they have a common destiny, and number two, they want to achieve a common level of prosperity. Right. And therefore, we should make every effort to stay as a union. We should every effort to stay as a community. We should use this to, number one, reform how ECOWAS works, better engage with citizens, and for my heartbeat, enhance more cross-border trade free movement of people so that we can prosper well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much indeed. So this is how we draw the curtain on Iron Port here on Metro TV tonight. Tonight, remember, we've been taking a look at the implications of the withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from ECOWAS, and we also took a look at some perspectives in terms of security. I would like to say a big thanks to you for joining us tonight and for making a date. We'll say a big thanks to Mr. Dodisedu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa Trade Academy, to Mr. Ziad Hamui, National President, Borderless Alliance, and indeed to Dr. Adam Bona, who is a security analyst and consultant. We say a big thanks to our sponsors as well: Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is proudly powered by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of Iron Port. Remember, the abridged version of the show will be aired on Ghana Television on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Make a date and watch that. My name is Kennedy Mona. We wish you a super week ahead, and we pray that you keep watching the rest of our programs here. Good evening, and thanks for being our guest.